The fall of Constantinople. Imagine a city so wealthy that kings dreamed of possessing it. A city protected by walls that had stood unconquered for nearly 1,000 years. A city that connected 2 continents and controlled one of the world's most important trade routes. For centuries, it was considered impossible to conquer. Yet in the spring of 1453, one determined ruler believed the impossible could become reality. His name was Mehmed II. And his target was Constantinople, the last great capital of the Roman world. The battle that followed would change the course of history forever. This is the story of the fall of Constantinople. Welcome to History Uncovered. To understand why Constantinople was so important, we must travel back many centuries. Founded by the Roman Emperor Constantine the Great in 330 AD, Constantinople became the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire. Its location made it one of the most valuable cities on Earth. Situated between Europe and Asia, the city controlled major land and sea trade routes. Merchants from across the world brought silk, spices, gold, and precious goods through its ports. As wealth poured into the city, magnificent churches, palaces, libraries, and markets were built. At the heart of Constantinople stood the breathtaking Hagia Sophia, one of the greatest architectural achievements of the medieval world. Its enormous dome amazed travelers from every corner of the known world. But Constantinople's greatest strength was not its wealth. It was its defenses. Surrounding the city were the legendary Theodosian Walls, built in the 5th century. These massive stone fortifications stretched for several kilometers and consisted of multiple defensive layers, deep moats, and towering walls. For almost 1,000 years, they had successfully resisted countless invasions. Persians, Arabs, Bulgarians, Crusaders. Again and again, Constantinople survived. Many believed the city could never fall. But by the 15th century, the Byzantine Empire was only a shadow of its former glory. Most of its lands had already been lost. The once powerful empire had been reduced to little more than Constantinople and a few surrounding territories. Meanwhile, a new power was rising. The Ottoman Empire. Under the leadership of the young Sultan Mehmed II, the Ottomans had expanded rapidly across southeastern Europe and Anatolia. Although Mehmed was only 21 years old, he possessed extraordinary ambition. Unlike previous rulers, he was determined to capture Constantinople once and for all. He believed that conquering the city would secure his empire's future and make his name legendary. Preparation began immediately. Mehmed ordered one of history's largest siege cannons to be built by a skilled engineer named Orban. The enormous weapon could fire massive stone cannonballs weighing hundreds of kilograms. When people first saw the giant cannon, many believed no wall could survive its power. At the same time, thousands of soldiers gathered from across the Ottoman Empire. Elite janissaries, experienced cavalry, engineers, sailors, and siege specialists assembled for what would become one of the greatest military campaigns of the Middle Ages. Historians estimate that Mehmed's army numbered between 60,000 and 80,000 soldiers, though some historical accounts claim even larger numbers. Inside Constantinople, the situation was very different. Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos knew his empire stood on the edge of destruction. Despite desperate appeals for help, only a small number of foreign volunteers arrived to defend the city. Among them was the experienced Genoese commander Giovanni Giustiniani, whose military skill would prove invaluable during the coming siege. Together, the defenders numbered only around 7,000 soldiers. They faced an army many times their size. Still, surrender was never considered. The city's defenders repaired damaged walls, gathered supplies, strengthened their gates, and prepared for a battle they knew might be their last. Then came another challenge. Constantinople's harbor was protected by a massive iron chain stretched across the entrance to the Golden Horn. This chain prevented enemy warships from entering the city's most secure harbor. For centuries, it had protected Constantinople from naval attack. But Mehmed was already planning a solution no one expected. On April 6, 1453, the Ottoman army surrounded Constantinople. Thousands of tents covered the landscape outside the mighty walls. War drums echoed through the air. Massive cannons were rolled into position. The defenders climbed the walls and looked out over an army unlike anything they had ever seen. Then, the first cannon fired. Its thunderous explosion shook the ground. Stone walls that had protected emperors for centuries were struck by a weapon unlike any they had faced before. The greatest siege of the medieval world had begun. But no one yet knew that Mehmed II was about to attempt one of the boldest military strategies in history, one that would completely change the course of the battle. As the siege continued, the defenders fought with extraordinary determination. Day after day, Ottoman cannons pounded the mighty Theodosian Walls, opening breaches that were repaired each night by exhausted soldiers and civilians. The city refused to surrender. But Sultan Mehmed II had another plan. The entrance to the Golden Horn was blocked by a massive iron chain, preventing the Ottoman fleet from attacking the city's northern defenses. Instead of breaking the chain, Mehmed ordered something almost unimaginable. Under the cover of darkness, his engineers built wooden tracks across nearby hills. Hundreds of workers, using logs and animal fat to reduce friction, pulled dozens of Ottoman ships over land and launched them into the Golden Horn behind the city's defenses. When the people of Constantinople awoke, enemy warships were already inside the harbor. The city was now surrounded from both land and sea. Hope began to fade. For weeks, relentless cannon fire continued to weaken the ancient walls. Food supplies grew smaller. Many buildings were damaged. Thousands of frightened citizens gathered inside the magnificent Hagia Sophia, praying for a miracle. Meanwhile, Emperor Constantine XI refused every opportunity to flee. He chose to remain with his soldiers until the very end. Before the final assault, he reportedly addressed his defenders with words of courage, reminding them that they were fighting for their families, their city, and their empire. In the early hours of May 29, 1453, Mehmed launched his final attack. Wave after wave of Ottoman soldiers charged toward the damaged walls. The first assaults were pushed back. Then came the elite Janissaries. Fierce fighting erupted across the city's defenses. As the battle reached its climax, the Genoese commander Giovanni Giustiniani was seriously wounded and carried away from the walls. His departure weakened the defenders' morale at the worst possible moment. Soon after, Ottoman forces found openings in the damaged fortifications and began pouring into the city. The centuries-old defenses had finally been breached. Emperor Constantine XI removed the symbols of his rank and joined the fighting as an ordinary soldier. He disappeared in the chaos of battle and is believed to have died defending his city. His body was never identified with certainty. With the fall of the walls, Ottoman banners rose above Constantinople. After nearly 1,100 years, the Byzantine Empire, the continuation of the Eastern Roman Empire, had come to an end. Sultan Mehmed II entered the conquered city and ordered that order be restored. One of his first destinations was the Hagia Sophia. The great cathedral was converted into a mosque, becoming a symbol of the city's new era. Mehmed declared Constantinople the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. Over time, the city flourished once again under Ottoman rule and eventually became known as Istanbul, one of the world's greatest cultural and commercial centers. The fall of Constantinople changed history forever. It marked the end of the medieval Byzantine Empire and is widely regarded as one of the major turning points between the Middle Ages and the early modern period. As traditional trade routes changed, many European kingdoms searched for new paths to Asia by sea, helping inspire the Great Age of Exploration. More than 5 centuries later, the mighty walls still stand. The Hagia Sophia continues to dominate the skyline. And the story of 1453 remains one of history's most remarkable sieges. It was a battle of ambition against endurance, innovation against tradition, an ancient empire against a rising power. The fall of Constantinople was not simply the capture of a city. It was the end of one world and the beginning of another. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe to History Uncovered, and turn on the notification bell for more incredible stories from history. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep uncovering history.